And here we go, Julius Caesar again. So he reperit consuls diarachium profectos. So Caesar's discovered consuls. This is a third declension accusative plural, in line with the profectos having set out. They're in a position, and Draconium is in an accusative form, so he's going there. So he found the consuls had set out for Dyrrhachium. Cum magna parte exercitus. Exercitus is a genitive of the fourth, and cum is taking the ablative, so with a great part, a magna part of the army. So he's discovered the consuls are set up for Dyrrhachium with a great part of the army, and Pompey, remanere, he's discovered this, and it looks like it's in reported speech. So Pompey is remaining at Brundisium, is that the name in English? Brundisium. With cohortibus virginti. Virginti is an indeclinable word for 20, which you see all the time. So Pompey's remaining there with 20 cohorts. Nequi curtum in venere poterat. So neither, for certain, was he able to find out. So we might say, neither was Caesar able to find out for certain, curtum, obtinendine Brundisi causa ibi remain sisset. So of whether Pompey was remaining, ibi there, causa, for the sake of obtaining, holding on to Brundisium, quo facilius, as we know, ut with a comparative becomes quo, so it just means so that more easily. Omne Hadrica mare, so all of the Adriatic Sea we've got going on here, ex ultimus Italia partibus regionibus qui Graecia. He would haberet in his potestate. Okay, so Caesar's wondering what the reason is Pompey is staying there. Is this so that he could more easily have his power, the potestate over the Adriatic Sea from the furthest parts of Italy? There's also a translation difference. There's another translation that says along the coastlines. From the ultimus partibus genitive of Italy. And the regionibus of Graecia. So this would be the Greek regions, if you know that Graecia is a genitive as well, or the territories of Greece he would have in his power. And ex ultraque, this means either side or both sides. And so from ultraque parte, from both sides, both parts, part obviously can mean sides, he would posset, administrares, the infinitive with posset, he would be able to administrate the war from either sides, either of these parts. And here's the an, which means or. So he's wondering why Pompey's staying there, and it could be or because in Opia navium ibi restidisset. So he had stayed there, which is this, and again ibi's there, due to an inopia of ships. Navium's a genitive, and inopia means there's a lack of ships. Veritus qui ne. Veritas is a verb of fearing, so ne and ut are inverted. So I'd say this would be Caesar would be fearing, or it could be Pompey's fearing, that ille, so he's fearing that ille, I think this is Pompey, would non estimare, would not want to, didn't think about dimittendam Italiam. This is the Durandi version of leaving, basically. So he didn't think that, he was fearing that he wouldn't think about leaving Italy. So it's probably Caesar thinking about Pompey leaving Italy. The exitus is the exit, we might want to say. Administrationes qui Brundisine portus impedire instituit. So instituit means he's deciding something, and it takes the infinitive impede. So the exitus portus, which would be the exit of the port, and the administration of Brundisium. So basically it says he decided to impede or block up the exits of the ports and the administration of the port as well. Quorum operum, of which work haec erat ratio. This is the reasoning, the ratios, or the plan, and operum is the work. So of which this is the planning of how Caesar thought this work would go. Qua, so where, forces erant angustissime portus. The angustissime is a superlative, it means the most narrowest part. Forces is the jaws or the throat, so it's basically the entrance portus of the port. qua. So, in which place where the entrance of the port, again, double genitive, was most narrow. Moles atqui ageram. So, this is moles is a mass of things, and ageram's like a lot of rock work, most likely. Ab utriqui parte littoris Jacobam. So, you pile up a lot of rocks and made a jetty. That's another word for that usually. From both sides of this part, littoris is the shore, which were lying about, or he threw them together. Quod, his locus erat vedosum mare. So quod, we'll take that as because his locus in these places, erat, was where the mare, which is the sea, was vedosum, which is the shallowest part, where you can ford things. If it's in a river, you'd ford it, and this is a sea, so it's just the shallow part of the sea. Longius progressus. So progressus means how far it went, or you might want to say in progress, sort of relates to English. Longius, so the furthest out it progressed, cum ager, this looks like when the ager, altoria aqua, this altoria can mean high or deep. When it's with the aqua, it means it's deep water. Continere non posset, okay. So when the earthworks, or the jetty, was non posset, not able to continere, he was not able to hold it in with his jetty in the deep water. Rates duplices. These are like rafts, basically. Rates is rafts. Sometimes it means ships and pontoons. Duplices means it's probably a twin row of them. Duplication means twice. Quo versus. Quo means to wherever. Quo versus means it's turn there. So it's to whichever direction they were going. Pedem thirte e reginus molus collocabat. So that's the imperfect. So he placed to wherever they were going, and was it 30 feet from the region of the jetty. So the work progressed far out, where he wasn't able to contain the deep water with his jetty. He made twin rafts in whichever direction, went for 30 feet of the jetty. And collocabat means he placed it there. Okay, we'll have a daily dictionary. Quoque versus, adverb, in every direction and every way. There we go. Okay, has. It's these things in the accusative plural. Quaternus and chorus, we'll have to take that as a ablative. So with 4 anchors, ex 4 angulus destinamat, from the 4 anguluses are corners. So these things with 4 anchors from the 4 corners, destinabat, he decided to put them there. Ne fluctibus moverentur. Ne will just take as less. They should be moved. That's the entor there, as you see, means plural things, and it's passive. Fluctibus means by the waves. So he anchored them down in the 4 corners so that they wouldn't be moving on the waves. Here's perfectus. This is a ablative absolute. So when these were perfected, when these were complete, collocatus qui, and it's taking another ablative, and these have been placed, collocated. Alias, deinceps. Deinceps means the next things that happened in order. So alias means others. Pare magnitude, rates. So other rates, other than these rafts or pontoons. He jungabatted, he joined them in equal magnitude, of equal magnitude. It's in the ablative form here, but you might put that in English as an of. So when he completed this and he had located them, he joined others to it of pari means equal, of equal size. Magnitude is size. Has, again, we had that has. Now we have, so these in the accusative plural. Terra atqui agere integ abated. So where we want to say with terra, with earth, atqui agere, and with these piling up of rocks, integ abated. Intego means to cover over. So we covered these over with the earth and rocks. Nay, so that not, lest the additus, the approach, atqui incursus, ad defenendum impeditur. Okay. Lest it would impede, again, the approach, and an incursus ad defendum. And the people running in to defend this area. E fronte atqui ab utroqui latere cratibus ac Plutius protegabat. So we've got the, from the front, takes the ablative from the A, and ab utrequi latere. Latere is the flanks or the sides. Utrequi again means both of them. it's neuter. So we've got this O here, which male and neuters take. So from the front and from both sides, we've got further ablative. Cratibus acpluteus. Cratibus are big bundles they make from like wicker work and brambles and things. And pluteus are screens to stop arrows and stuff, I suppose. Protegabant means to protected. So he was making sure they were protected from the front and from both sides with these bundles and screens. In quarta quaque iarum. So in the fourth one of them, into each fourth one of them, basically literally says, turrets, which are these little turrets or little forts, whatever you want to call them. Binorum tabulorum excitabated. Excitabated means he built them up, he raised them really, so he raised turrets, binorum tabulum of 2 stories, a tabulorum of the stories, I believe. So in every fourth one of these, he built little turrets, 2 stories high. Quo commodius. Again, we have this quo is an ut going with a comparative. Which commodius ab impetu, fourth declension, navium incendus qui defenderat. So that more commodiously, more conveniently, and more advantageously, is there a word? He could defend these from the impetu, which is the attacks, navium, genitive of the ships, and incendies. Incendiary things are fires, basically. Contra haec, against these things. Again, contra is a preposition taking accusative. So Pompeius, looks like he's the nominative now. Naves magnus honorarius. So these ships are in the accusative. Magnus means great size. Honorius means they carry burdens of cargo. So against this Pompey, great big ships, cargo ships, quos, which in the relative, in Portu Brundisio deprehenderat. So he had deprehended these, apprehended them or grabbed them in the port Brundisium. And it looks like he's using a double ablative there. An adornabat means he fashioned them up with the apparatus needed. Ibi, so there, these turrets again, cum turnus tabulatus, with 3 stories. This is Pompey, he's irrigabanting, he's erected them, built them up with 3 turrets, eus qui multis tormentis, and eus, these, plural female, with many torment engines. These are engines of war, the torment engines, and omni genere telorum, which means and with all types, genitive of telorums, completas. So completas means you fill them up. Telorums are usually missiles that they throw and things like that. So you could guess from the torment engines and the other types of thing he would have been using. Ad opera Caesaris in the genitive, ad pellebant, which would repel, you might want to say. Ad opera means these are going up against the works of Caesar, or Caesar's work, literally. His attack, because he's the one building the jetties and etc. And ut, so rates perrumperet. So these rafts or pontoons would be perrumperated, which would mean broken up from rumpo. Per just usually makes it stronger, so they would be thoroughly bursted open. And the opera, which is the work, would be disturberated. Actually, so Pompey would disturberate because it's in the active, and so he'd actively break up these rafts and the works. Sic, so thus, quotidi, daily, utrum qui both sides, e minus is a adverb for a long distance. Fundus, we're using the ablative, so it's with slings, the fundus, sagittus with arrows, reliquis qui telles pugnibator. So thus, quotidi daily, pugnibator, they fought on both sides at a distance with slings, arrows, and reliquis tellus, and the other types of remaining missile throwing things. Atqui, haec, Caesar, ita administrabat. And Caesar administrated or ran the operation, ita thus, haec, in this way, ut, so that, conditiones parcis dimittendas, that's the gerundive, non existimare. So he's running it so that it would not think, non existimare, that conditions parcis of peace in the genitive should be dismissed or omitted, or he was still hoping that they could reach conditions of peace, if you want to put it that way. Ac, Tamanetsi. And Tamanetsi is although, magno per admirable. Magno per means greatly, so although he was greatly astonished or in admiration, this is be Caesar, writing about himself in the third person, magium quem ad Pompeium cub mandatus miseret, quem's whom miseret he had sent ad Pompey to Pompey with his mandates or requests, his letters, ad se to him non remittai, had not been remitted, not sent back to him, atqui ea res sapi temptata, and so he had attempted sapi often these matters, these are the res, the matters for peace, I'm guessing, etsi, and though impetus eos concilia qui tardabat, so tardabat means it was slowing down, it was an impetus which so it was slowing down his attacks and his concilia, this is concilia with an S, so it was slowing down these plans basically. Tama, nevertheless, omnibus rebus in eo perseverandum putabat. Nevertheless, he was thinking, putabanting, that he should persevere, perseverandum, in this, in omnibus rebus. In all matters, he should persevere towards this goal. Here we go. Itaque. Caninium rebellium legatum. And so Caninius Rebellium, his legate, his delegate, a familiarem necessarium qui scriboni libonus. So familiar and necessary means he was familiar with him, and he's someone he knew quite well. Necessarium, you can look it up if you don't know what it is. This is in the genitive, of scribonus libonus, emitted. So Caesar sent Caninius Rebellius ad eum to him, causa, for the sake of, and it's a postposition, it's like a prefix is in front and a postfix, I guess you call them, is behind the genitive, for the sake of a colloquy, a conversation, or anyway, he sent it to him for the sake of these discussions. Okay, so he mandated him again, ut so that libonam, which is libo, scribonius libo, hortoritor, he would encourage him de concilianda pace, to conciliate towards peace, or to settle for a peace. That's the causa, the reason that he sent him to Libo. So in primus, at the forefront basically of this, primus is first, was ut, so that ipse himself, Caesar, cum Pompeo, this with Pompeo and ablative, colliquitur postulate. So he was postulating that himself, in the flesh, would have this conversation with Pompey. Magno per, so greatly, say himself, confidere, he was confident, demonstrat. So he wasn't really demonstrating, he was feeling confident greatly that, say, eos re sit potestas factor, that if potestas factor, if he had the power or the opportunity or the facility, eos re, in this matter, for a, referring to the future, ut that equis conditibus, that with fair conditions, discedator ab armas, they could leave off from this armed conflict that they have. So basically, he was pointing out that he was greatly confident that if there was an opportunity to settle the matter, they would be settled on some equal conditions and there would be no more need of fighting. Quis, of who, re magnum part, a great part to this matter, laudis and exclamationis ad libonem per venturum. So there would be praise and great estimation, which basically means he'd be well regarded, I'm guessing, would reach to Libo, quis, of who, this great part of the praise and regard would come to, see if, illo auctore, it's ablative, with him as the author of this, or with him behind this action, with his influence, en agente. This looks like present participle. So with his, he's carrying this agenda out. He's doing the deed. Discessum sit abamus. So with him behind this and pushing it, they would be able to leave off from arms, and he was encouraging him to do this because he would get some praise and be well respected from it. Libo, a colloquia from this conversation, Canani with Caninus, he digressed. So there's a past passive. So Libi left from this conversation, Canani, and he proficiscator ad Pompeii, and he set off to go to Pompeii with the news, I'm guessing.